Whoa, what's good with your YouTube and YouTube bust? It's your boy TripleCup Chuck and I'm up. And I told everybody I was talking to that I was going to eat crow. It was Spider-Man. Do not return to the MCU. That was a PR stunt. Now everybody here in the news and Twitter is about to shut down. It's about to explode. It's about to have a nuclear bomb eruption strictly with spider webs. Well, let's go and get to the introduction and let's go. Intro.
Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night.
Hey, now that the introduction out the way, let's go ahead and get into the Sony and Disney with Kevin Feige being stretched all around the board. They water whipping him, saying that he don't have enough to be able to handle all of the MCU, plus the new MCU characters that's welcoming home with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four for him to be able to take care of the iconic character that's named Spider-Man that's over there at Sony. So that was one of Sony's biggest things. Kevin Feige wasn't going to have the time. Now we see that that's bullshit because Kevin Feige is supposed to be picking up an even bigger project, and that's called Star Wars. Now, if Kevin Feige could pick up Star Wars, before I go any deeper into that, I want to just break down this here. Kevin Feige, if he take on Star Wars, what I think is some of the good and some of the bad. Some of the good is he could bring Star Wars from out this depth that it's going into, but the bad thing is they leave him in a blind. Is if he do a Star Wars movie and it don't come out right, or if it be shitty, that could taint Kevin Feige's name and that could taint the Marvel. Or it could be like he putting so much effort into Star Wars that the MCU is starting to slack. So that's another thing that could happen. I want to know what y'all think, that if Kevin Feige pick up the Star Wars project, would it hurt the MCU? Or you think Kevin Feige is that man where he could do both of them at the same time? And with the fact of Disney behind him and Disney owning Star Wars and Marvel, would that be a good move to help bring the Star Wars back to the front line? Because I've been hearing too much about these Star Wars movies ain't being good and too many people backlashing on it. So it's a big challenge for Kevin Feige. But now let's go ahead and get back to this Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Kevin Feige had too much to work with, but I'll say it from the beginning. I always said Kevin Feige was just a goat, a space goat for Disney. Not Disney, for Sony, to say it was too much because it was a money thing. Now, by it being a money thing, let's break down this money thing all the way into the depth. Simple. The rumors was Sony is about to sell their movie division within the next 5 years because it wasn't profitable. The only thing that's profitable about their movie division was Spider-Man, but that's not big enough to hold a whole movie division down. The only thing out of Sony that's profitable right now is their video game division, so they have to start cutting back and cutting all these other divisions out. So if Sony sell a movie division, the rights of the Marvel characters automatically go back to the MCU and Disney. Now, by going back to the MCU and Disney, they wouldn't have to pay for it. So now that the Spider-Man 2 is out and it's time for renegotiations, so when Marvel and Disney go to Sony to talk about the renegotiations, of course they're going to want more, because they say if we don't get more now, we could wait 3 to 5 years for y'all to sell, and then the characters get reverted back to us. We have enough characters where it won't hurt us. But Sony saying, well, if we take away Spider-Man from the MCU, that the next Spider-Man will do good, but it won't do as good. But will it be sustainable for Sony? So now I know that Sony have to get back into a deal with the MCU. I know it's a shit show that they put the fans and the audience and the media involved into this situation, but you know that, like I said from the beginning, it was strategic, and Spider-Man will be in the MCU. And if it wasn't, I was gonna eat crow. Look like I'm not eating crow no more. I don't think so. But anyway, now Sony said they were gonna give Marvel the rights back to Spider-Man to make what for the next 2 years to make another Spider-Man movie and be featured in one other Avengers movie. Then we're gonna go right back to the same situation, and I think that the same situation is gonna be a tight bit different. When people saying that Spider-Man, when it comes back in the next 2 years, they're gonna go back to this thing. The only reason why I think that this deal was 2 years is because within the next 2 to 5 years, Sony will be selling their movie division. So Marvel don't need to do no reached out 10-year plan with Sony. They just need to do 2 here, maybe 3, 2, 1 until that day comes, so they don't over exert their hand and reach into something what they didn't have to do. So that's why I think Marvel is trying to kind of balancing to make sure that they don't go too deep into Sony. Because if Sony sell a movie division, they're going to automatically get Spider-Man back. They're trying to reach that borderline where soon as Sony sell, Spider-Man come back to them and they could continue on doing what they don't have no dealings with Sony actions with their movie division no more. That's the only thing that they're waiting for. And they're just trying to keep this partnership going just long enough. Now, Kevin Feige, if he sell, if Kevin Feige do a Star Wars movie, my biggest thing about that, he bet not let the MCU start slacking. I know he had to put focus into Star Wars, and if he make a bad Star Wars movie, that is going to taint his name. But at the same time, if he let the MCU go down, that could taint his name. So I'm really concerned about the standing of Kevin Feige. Is this too big of a workload for him? So what about that? Do y'all think this too big of a workload? Do you think this too big of a workload for Kevin Feige with being able to hold this big juggernaut of the MCU and Star Wars, the two biggest entities right now under Disney that's making the most money? You think Kevin Feige could hold all of that down? And the funny things with Happy and Aunt May coming back, they were saying we'll see them in Spider-Man 3. And I was saying from Spider-Man 2, don't forget, I said it first. Spider-Man 3 should be called Spider-Man Home Alone. I said it right after Spider-Man 2 Far From Home came out. So just keep in mind that I'm Nostradamus, that's probably going to be the name of this next Spider-Man. It's going to be Spider-Man Home Alone. And it would have worked perfectly if he wouldn't have been with the MCU. That is being called that. But by him being back with the MCU, I think it still would do good. And another thing about the Spider-Man movie is, I'm on board when people say Spider-Man need to be his own movie, and then when he in the MCU, just feature him in the MCU, but in his own movie, just kind of give a tidbit to the MCU, but don't just sit there and how he did the first one and the second one. They had so much of the MCU going on in Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man need to be his own movie and just do a little tidbit Easter eggs with the MCU stuff in there. And, pretty much just do it like how Shazam was. Like Shazam was in the DCEU, but it was his own movie, and it just did Easter eggs for the DCEU, and that actually gave it an opportunity to become his own movie and be a good movie. Well, that's my thoughts about this whole Spider-Man coming back to the MCU. Was I told you. I ain't trying to brag. Yes, I am. I feel happy about the situation. I'm glad that they back. I'm glad that the situation is over with, and it happened right before Spider-Man was released on DVD. So hopefully, if I get enough views on this video, y'all like, share, and subscribe. For my next Spider-Man video, I will be trying to give away a 4K Blu-rays of Spider-Man. So if y'all with that and y'all interested in a Spider-Man DVD, get at me. We're gonna do something on here, and we're gonna kind of combine it with Twitter with the Heroic Vibration Podcast, and we're gonna try to bring the Heroic Vibration Podcast back to YouTube. We kind of fighting right now, so I appreciate everybody that been rocking with us, that been keeping it 100 with us, that's still going, sharing, subscribing, all this other good stuff. Well, this your boy TripleCup Chuck, and I'm out. And remember, I don't do this for me, I do this for we. So like, share, subscribe, and holler at your boy, and don't forget to choke that like button. Let's turn it blue. Let's go Nova. And I'm out.